So I'm simply exporting the error middleware. That's it. Okay. I think it's most probably because of the function. So you can see that the error middleware is having a few things. Okay, it has the request and response and next. Okay, so when you are just saying that if req dot, here guys I have to add one more parameter, req dot header send and then next error. Okay, so if header is already sent, then what to do after the middleware, do that or else just continue with the error. Okay, so if I try it now. Okay guys, so here we did a little mistake. So you can see we actually sent status code additionally, but when we are generating an error inside user routes, you can obviously see that we are sending it as a dot status code. That means it's an object. Error contains a message and as well as the status code. Okay, but we are sending status code additionally, so it won't accept status code like this. You can directly say that inside the error object we had the message. Okay, we had the message. Actually we don't need this. We actually have the message as well as we can also provide the status code. Okay, like this. So it would work like this. That's it. Now after this, what you have to do is you have to simply say once the error is done, so you just need to throw that error. Okay, so you for throwing that error, you can see that in user routes, I'm just saying you have to throw that error. Okay, that means after this try, I would just throw the error. So once I throw the error, it would go to the catch case. Okay, it would go to the catch case. So I'm just saying throw the error. So after this, it would go to the catch case. So inside catch case, what I've said is call my middleware. Okay, so now it would work properly. So now I would simply say whenever we receive an error, if I click on send, you can see yes, now it's working fine and you are actually error middleware inside the error middleware. Okay, so once you went inside the catch, then you went inside the error middleware. Okay, so now I hope you understood how it actually works. So first of all, if everything is fine, you can see you would be inside the API, you are inside the try catch. So if everything is fine, you would be inside the try block. If there is some problem, you would be going to the catch block. Inside the try block, you are looking for these three things. If there is an existing user, so you would get this error. You would first of all create this error and then I'm sending it to my catch block. Throw error simply sends the error to the catch block. Now here I would simply say call my middleware. So my middleware would be called, it would get my error. Okay, so inside the middleware, as you can see, I'm providing the error. So automatically the middleware would get the error and these are some values which we would get by default. Okay, which the error would get by default, so you don't need to worry, you just need to write it like this. Automatically this function would get these extra details by default, but the main is err. So I would simply say whatever is the error, just generate a response and send it to the front end. That's it. Okay, so now I have simply created the register API. So first, if you provide a password lesser than 6 characters, then there will be some problem. If there is some same email, then there will also be some problem. But if there is a unique email and a password is also longer, like H12345 6, you can see more than 6 characters. So if I click on register, you can see that one more problem is here, user.modified is not a function. Why is it showing me error? Because I think here we made some mistake. So guys, here the problem is we were using asynchronous function, but with asynchronous we forgot one thing, that is asynchronous doesn't work properly with this keyword. Okay, so you actually have to write it as a normal function. So I would again simply say asynchronous, then function parameter. Since we are creating a normal function, so I'm just saying function keyword would be here, and then after this I'm just calling it like this. Okay, so now I think it must run properly. Now we would try to register a user, so you won't get any issues. So if I click on send, so it would try to connect to database and then it would save the data. Okay, so let's see if it's connected or not yet. So it's try to connect, and then once it's done, I think we have to send a response. Here you can see that once the user has been registered, we have to just send this response. Okay, so you can see once everything is done, I'm just creating a response, but I have to stop this here. Okay, I'm not stopping this here. You can see I'm creating a response, but I'm not sending it. Okay, so what I can do is instead of this, I have to write this properly. So re return. Okay, so return and then res, whatever is your status. So you would just say your status is suppose 200 or whatever you want. Then I would just say that I want to send whatever is the object returned by create response. Okay, that's what I would say here. So inside the JSON, I'm just saying that create response function would be called, and it would actually return me some object. This object would be returned to me. Okay, so that's what I'm sending this as a response. Okay, now it would work properly. Okay, so now let's try to hit this. If I click on send, so you can see that user already exists, because obviously now database has one thing and we had some issue sending the responses. So I think I have to first of all clear the database. Let me just go to browse collections, and here you can see already a user has been created, because we tried to hit the API last time and it created the user, but it didn't send us the response because create response function wasn't working properly. So let me just delete this again, and I'll explain this again to you what actually happened with the registration. So now if I click on send, so you can see user created successfully, and as you can see that the password has been hashed. So that's actually known as hashing. Instead of HJ123, you can have a hash password. Okay, HJ123456, you have a hash password. Okay, so it's very beneficial and it makes things very secure. Okay, now you can see once you create a user with this, so now if I click on refresh here, your database would be having the user. Now if I say we want to just try to register with the same email again. Okay, so suppose I change the name again, I change the name, I won't change the email. Okay, and I can also change the password. Suppose this is the password, or let's the same password. I am looking for the email. Okay, so when you're trying to register again with the same email, you would get the error user already exists and okay would be false. So you can see that that's very easy. That's very easy. You can see that now you have simply created the register API, right? Now guys, we are going to talk about the login API. So what is the login API? So you can see it's similar to register API. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to copy this, okay, and I am actually going to paste it here. Okay, now I'm going to say that register API is actually similar to login. Okay, so login API would be created. Now I would be demanding email and password when the user tries to log in. Okay, then the user tries to log in, I'm demanding for email and password. Now if the user has already been registered, then only the user would be allowed to log in. That means if the existing user is there, that means the user is now allowed to log in, right? The user is now allowed to log in. So here you can see I'm first of all checking that the user exists or not for the login API. That means if user doesn't exist in my database, how can that user log in? Okay, so I'm just saying that if user doesn't exist, if the user doesn't exist, then I would simply say that you are not allowed to log in. Okay, you are not allowed to log in. So you would just say user does not exist. Okay, does not exist, doesn't, DOESNT exist. Okay, does, okay, you can just write it like this, does not exist. Okay, so you can see that if the user doesn't exist, you can actually give this data, or you can simply say invalid credentials, so that it's more secure. Okay, no one can now know that either the password is incorrect or email is incorrect or user does not exist actually. Okay, so this is better, invalid credentials. I'm just saying that if user is not found in my database with that specific email which you are trying to log into, I would simply send this error. Okay, now what else? You can first of all check for password. So you just say that if the user is found, that means it would be inside the existing user. Okay, so I'm just saying is match. Okay, is match, and I'm just going to compare both of the password, first password which is available in my database with this password. Okay, so for that we actually need bcrypt, because in my database password is in hash format and this password is HJ123. User would be providing HJ123 and in your database password is in hash format. You have to compare both of these. So you would simply say, I would call my bcrypt, so I would just say await and then bcrypt.compare. I'm going to compare both these passwords. That's it. Okay, so I'm just going to compare both these passwords, the password which is normal and the password which is in hash format in your database. That's it. Okay, so if is match is false, if is match is false, so you would just say that if is match is false, that means you have provided again invalid credentials. Okay, so again you would be providing the same response. Okay, same response. That's it. So if the password is correct, so what you would do is you would simply send the response. That means if password was correct, this would be avoided. That means you would simply send a response that is user logged in successfully. Okay, user logged in successfully. So now you would simply say once the user is logged in successfully, you can actually send the details like this. Okay, So you can see okay is true, user logged in successfully, and existing user, whatever the user details which you got from the database, you would get that. Okay, so now let's try to hit the login API. So you can see that we tried to register with this. With these details, we registered a user, right? So now I'm simply going to say we are trying to log in the user. So what actually happened, again, the headers would be content type application JSON, body would be having at least email and password, because these two are required for login. But if you again keep name also, so it would be actually avoided, so it's up to you. So I'll just keep it so that I can again register with some other user, so that's easy. Okay, so these two details are required, email and password for login. Okay, so if I click on send, so you can see user logged in successfully. That means I'm able to get the details. But suppose if I just change the password to this, okay, so you can see that I would get the error like this. Okay, or else if I have the correct password, but suppose the email is incorrect, so you can see that here again I'm getting the issue. So that's it for the login and register APIs which we have seen just now. So guys, this was the part 1 of our task manager application. So in the next video we are going to talk about our auth tokens. Okay, so in the next video we'll just jump to the auth token, that is refresh token and authentication token, which is very important topic. Then after that we'll finish our project. Okay, so that's it for today. I hope you understood the login and register part, and how we connected to database, save data to database, and how we hashed the password, and how we actually used a middleware. Okay, so in the next video we are again going to use this login to generate authentication token and refresh token, and again use middlewares to verify those tokens. Okay guys, so I hope you understood with this video. That's it for today. I will see you in the next one. Till then, see you, have a good day. Bye bye.